Hey guys, and welcome to this video. In this video, we're going to talk about how to rewrite your Git history and permanently delete files. Now, before we start, it's extremely important to say that this isn't a trivial task, and if you have multiple people working on a single Git repository, that proceeding and rewriting your history is going to affect any changes that they've done that haven't been committed. I also want to say that if you've uploaded a sensitive information to Git, particularly to public Git, like an API key or a database credential, it's extremely important to revoke this key or secret before we proceed. The reason is, on public Git, people can and they do monitor this for leaked credentials so that they can exploit it. So before you get started, please make sure that any secretive information has been revoked. So, with all the warnings out of the way, let's begin. To illustrate this, I created an extremely simple project on GitHub called Hello World, and I just have two branches, the master branch and a branch I've called Feature X. Now, in this scenario, what we're going to pretend is that we have this file here called config. It's a Python file. And inside this file, we have a secret key that we've accidentally uploaded into our Git repository. So I'm going to add this into our status, and I'm going to do a new commit called fifth commit and push this into our remote repository. It should go without saying, but just in case, please don't ever upload configuration or environment files into GitHub, especially if they have secrets in them. But it's also just best practice to get out of the habit of doing this because it will get you into trouble one day. Now, if we go back to our GitHub page and refresh, we can see that now we have 4 commits and our config file, our config.py is in there. Now, I have Git Guardian installed on my repository. And what this does is it automatically scans for any secrets that may have been leaked. You see the red cross, so that means that it's discovered something. I would highly recommend everyone to install Git Guardian onto their repositories. It's free and it will save your life if you do accidentally upload a secret. Now, if you're just working on this by yourself and you need to quickly rewrite your history, then there is a simple way to do it, but it does cause major troubles in team. So the simplest way, which we'll briefly touch on, is to take advantage of the git reset function. And we can use the soft head flag in this. What this does is it takes the head that we're on with our latest commit and it essentially moves it back 1. So anything that was previously committed can now be undone. The problem with this is that if you push this up into your repository, then you're going to get an error. This is because that the history that you're trying to push is essentially behind the history on the remote repository. To fix this, we have to use the force flag. So we can go git push force, and this will essentially force the remote repository to match the history on our local machine. This is extremely dangerous if you are working in teams, so please be careful. But this is the simplest way. If you've quickly done a mistake, you immediately find out and you want to revert back to the previous commit. After we've run this command, if we go back into our remote repository, you'll see that we only have 3 commits now when before it was saying 4. Our config file is gone, but if we actually click here onto our repository's history, you'll notice that the entire 4th commit that we did is now gone. But this will only work in very simple scenarios where you or maybe one other person has just done a commit and you realize it. Back in the real world, your Git history and your Git branches probably looks a little bit more like this. And what that means is that simply removing a commit back might not solve the problem, especially if the file that you're looking for is on different branches, if it's back in multiple versions of different commits, then you're going to have a real nightmare trying to remove it using this method. So in this more complicated example, we're going to use actually a different tool for this. We're going to use a tool called the BFG Repo Cleaner. And what this tool allows us to do is pinpoint a file by its name, and it will search through all the different branches and all the different history within our local machine, and it's going to remove that file. So moving forward on this example, what we're going to do is let's start by adding back in the config file and the fx Python file that we previously removed. So git add all, we're going to commit this using the same tag, the fourth commit, and we're going to push this to our repository. And now, just for this example, I'm going to create another commit, and I'm going to add just any old file. So I'm just going to create a random file here called new file because I'm very original. And I'm going to commit this back into our Git repository, and I'm going to use the message fifth commit. Shoot, I forgot to add the files. Okay, add the files, and we will do this again. Add it into a commit with the message fifth commit. So now that we have pushed these up to our remote GitHub repositories, we can quickly check that out. We see our config file, which is in our fourth commit, and then we also see our new file, which is in our fifth commit. So just for illustration purposes, you can see that this is what our tree now looks like. We have the file that we accidentally uploaded in our fourth commit. We have a new commit, and we're going to want to go back and delete just that one file from that fourth commit. So now that we've got the scenario set up, let's head over to the BFG Repo Cleaner and let's download the latest version. And right now that is 1.13.0. But while that's downloading, what I am going to do is I'm going to clone my entire repository into a new folder. So I'm just going to quickly create a new folder here called Hello World Clone. And I'm going to clone the repository into this. Now I'm doing this just so that I have a backup of my old one and that this one I'm comfortable playing around with. Now, at the moment we're in the master branch by default, so let's check out our feature X branch, and we can now see that we have the config file and the new file. Let's start by getting everything clean. So let's just get rid of that config file and trash that. Now we're going to add, we'll add all into this commit, and we're going to create a new commit, and we're going to call this clean commit. So this is our baseline, and this is the last commit that we want to do, where everything is as if exactly how we would want it to be going forward. Okay, now we're going to grab the Java file that was downloaded from BFG, and we're going to plonk this straight into our repository file. So we're going to call this Java file, type in the file name bfg-1.13.0.jar, and we want it to look in our .git folder. This is the directory. We're going to use the flag delete files, and now we're going to put in the file name that we want to find, which is config. And you can find these commands on the blog post that I'll link in the comment sections if you just want to copy them. All right, now let's run this. And you're going to see here that it's successfully gone through. It's altered some of our SHA-1 values, but we won't worry about all that too much. The next step that we want to do is we just want to make sure and go through our Git history to double check that this config file has actually been removed. So now let's have a look into our log file to double check. So I'm going to go git log and use the flag one line. This just keeps it nice and neat. And then we're going to have a look at it. Now remember, we uploaded the config file in the fourth commit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the SHA-1 value in the fourth commit. And I'm going to check this out in a detached head. This is basically just searching back through different areas of the history in the Git. And as you can see, our new file disappeared, which is what we want, and our config file hasn't reappeared. Now, what this means is that it means the config file has been deleted throughout the Git history. If you have multiple commits that you want to check, it's worth just checking a few of them and going back as far as you can to make sure. Now we need to push this back up to our remote repository, obviously. It may be worth considering whether or not it's best just to delete the entire repository that's remote and start fresh, because all your history will still be there. But in this example, I'm again going to use the push with a force flag. But first, let's get back to safety. So I'm going to check back to my master branch, and I'll go to my feature X branch again. And now I'm going to push this with the force flag to our remote repository. All right, now we should be getting close to done. Let's just check out our repository online. We can see here that we still have 6 commits. This is what we wanted. The clean commit was the latest one. We have our 5th and 4th commits still there. Now remember, it was the 4th commit that our secrets was in. We can see that our new file is in our 5th commit. And if we check out our 4th commit on this branch, we'll see that our fx file is there, but the config file has gone. So this means that it's worked and we have successfully been able to rewrite our Git history and remove that config file from there permanently. I hope you found this video useful. If you have something specific that you would like me to do, please feel free to mention it in the comment section. And if you found this video useful, please consider subscribing to the Git Guardian YouTube channel, where we're going to be uploading a lot of great videos and tutorials like this, and we'll be more than happy to create videos that you guys want.